Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today for the joint webinar between Pynchon Limited and Charlotte Products. We're going to start the webinar now. We've given it a few minutes to get a number of more participants on the webinar. So I just wanted to go over some quick housekeeping here for the Zoom webinar today. And one is just to get comfortable. Hope you've got your coffee, your muffin, and just to sit back and enjoy the next 50 or 1 hour of this time. And we appreciate you taking the time out to be here today as well. Some of the quick Zoom tools I wanted to bring to your attention is the chat feature. And you'll see the chat feature in your toolbar. And what we can use that for is any sort of technical difficulties. We do have a technical person from the back end that can answer any of your questions in regards to sound or sending questions if you're not able to. And the other thing we're going to do is a Q&A, a question and answer sort of function, and that will be something toward the end of a presentation of the two. And the other feature is the raise hand. So what I might ask everybody to do now is just to press the raise hand icon on your settings, just so we can get a sense of that everything is working well from the attendees list. So everybody press your raise hand now.
Looks good.
Fantastic. So today's presenters, I just wanted to do some present who we are. And my name is Mike Chester. I'm Senior Client Manager for Pynchon. I'm out of the Durham Region office of Oshawa and as well as the Peterborough office. Pynchon is a national engineering environmental service provider. We offer services in engineering and health and safety, occupational hygiene, environmental due diligence, building science, all the whole sectors across Canada. We have over 40 offices, over 900 employees, coast to coast from BC to Newfoundland. And I want to also introduce my co-presenter, which is Jim Flieler. Jim is a Vice President of Sales for Canada of Charlotte Products. And Charlotte Products is basically a manufacturer and formulator of cleaning products. They have locations or manufacturing facilities and locations across the United States and Canada. They're also part of the Swish group of companies as well. So we're really pleased to have Jim here as well. I wanted to introduce my section of the presentation. It will be kind of focusing on how to properly disinfect your business and the risks of overuse to ensure the employee wellness. We all know how important employee wellness is going to be as we reoccupy our buildings as well. So it's top of mind. The other thing I wanted to mention, we're going to give two perspectives today as well. One is more on the consulting side of Pynchon, and the other would be more on the supplier, the cleaning product side of a leading cleaning company. So that's a kind of an interesting perspective, I think, to have. At this point, I wanted to also mention we're going to do 3 poll questions throughout the 1 hour webinar as well. And the first poll question is going to come up now. So if we can just have that up. What industry, market, or sector do you work in currently? So I'll give everybody a couple of minutes, or a couple of seconds, I should say, to just click on your choice, the best of your ability. And we'll just see what the percentages are here. That we all are on here. Okay, so here we go. We've got about 26% are manufacturers, followed by government institutions. So that's good. And we have a bit of an array across all industry sectors. So that's great to have representation that's across the broad spectrum. My objective on this presentation is really going to focus in on how do we provide businesses with some tools to kind of conduct proper cleaning and disinfecting of our buildings during COVID-19. It'll also include some procedures and processes around conducting, due diligence and understanding how to clean the buildings, preventative purposes. But I also wanted to talk about, I think it needs to be stated as well, and the best treatment for COVID-19 really is the prevention piece. And there's four major ways we can do that. And that's through proper hygiene, physical distancing, and self-isolation, and with the use of barriers. The other thing that we need to address and talk about is the fact that how do we get COVID and the transmission of it? We all know over the past year what those sort of avenues are, those vectors are. And one is the inhalation of respiratory droplets, small and large droplets. So respiratory droplets can be released from the sneezing and the coughing and even talking. That becomes really critical then where the social distancing comes into it. So the respiratory droplets can travel a distance of up to 2 meters. And that's what we know, at least right now. And those droplets being sort of the larger droplets. Also, contact with the virus contaminated surfaces is critical as well. And the aerosol, the airborne transportation of COVID-19. So the hygiene piece, I think it's important to state these four factors of prevention. And one is just the washing your hands thing with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. And you can avoid touching your eyes and nose and mouth with your hands, and avoiding that close contact with people that are more vulnerable as well. And covering your mouth and your nose when you have a sneeze or anything like that, and making sure that you properly dispose of your Kleenex in the garbage as well when you're finished, and washing your hands again. So cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched objects or highly surface areas is really critical as well. And staying home when you're not feeling well. We all know that self-isolation part. So the physical distancing, we all know that is formerly known as social distancing. And it's just, we can see how much of an impact it does have in terms of the number of cases. So it really does make a difference to avoid, that herding idea, non-essential gatherings, limiting the contact to higher risk populations like older people as well, and people in poor conditions, immune systems, and maintaining that 2 meters distance as well. So critical. The self-isolation is obviously a really important top of mind right now. Provincial Health Protection Promotion Act allows the medical officer of health to issue class orders, and this is in effect until the medical officer of health declares no longer needed. So I kind of highlighted two in our region. County of Peterborough, the class order is effective since April 20th, 2020, and Durham region, it's essentially effective since the revision on March 25th of this year. And the class order really directs people to stay home and self-isolate until they're not contagious. The purpose is to reduce the transmission of COVID-19 and protect the ultimate health of everyone. And these self-isolation periods can range up, from 10 to 20 days. And of course, we know when you have symptoms of COVID symptoms, you need to get tested, and then you must self-isolate until you receive the results of that test. Barriers are important right now, top of mind, and that is the plexiglasses in between workstations or at counters of retail locations. The face mask is really critical as well, wearing that, and N95 mask is preferred. Now, I want to get into the cleaning products and procedures sort of from the consulting side. And so Health Canada has a published list of disinfectants that are effective, for the use of COVID-19, and they're updated quite regularly, but they are quite small, and you may not see the particular items that you're looking for. But Charlotte Products, I just wanted to highlight, is on Health Canada's list for disinfectants. When you're looking at disinfectants too and how they meet the Health Canada requirements, you're going to need to look at the DIN number, which is the drug identification number, and that's gives you an indication of the how effective it is against COVID-19 or SARS type of itemized lists. Now, cleaning products and application, the list is small on Health Canada. So, how can I find these items that you're looking for? If you're a business owner, you're a manufacturer, what do I do now? And this is just essentially let you know that we're here for you. Don't worry. We have qualified people, and in Pension, we actually have a division that's set up for COVID-19 services, that they have a solid understanding of the sources for getting, the right disinfectant for the treatment of your building or other items as well. We did a lot of work in SARS Pension as well, so we have a fairly solid knowledge of pandemic conditions and health and safety, occupational hygiene sort of items. How long does COVID-19 live on surfaces? And really the short answer is we're not sure entirely. The results are still coming in, and we're learning, how long they do stay. I know the Center for Disease Control and Prevention are now saying, 3 days is a fairly safe benchmark. But here are some, basically from the New England Journal of Medicine, here are some, some rough estimates of how long the coronavirus virus can live on surfaces. And in the air, it can live, roughly 3 hours, and on copper, 4 hours, cardboard, 24 hours, plastics, 3 days. So that's why I say the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, say, 3 days is pretty a safe number that you're going to be okay if you were to re-enter that building. Touch points have become really top of mind now with Pension, I know, with our consultants. And it used to be at the beginning of the pandemic where we would just go in and essentially just, clean like crazy the whole building. And now we're kind of being more strategic on it. And we're focusing in on touch points, common locations in the work or the living space where employees or clients coming in, a keyboard, your telephone that you're using a lot of, light fixtures, switches, the bathroom areas, things like that. So I want to talk a bit about touch points here. And this is just a standard restroom in a work building, and we've kind of put a number of touch points that are the usual suspects. And I ask you, can you find any missing touch points when you look at this picture? And I think we can. I think this gives you a sense of that touch points. There's many. And if we focus in on those on the cleaning, I think we can be a little more effective on our on preventing COVID-19 transmission on contaminated surfaces. Because we can look at the garbage pail, the lid. It's not one of those ones you use your feet. It's one that you touch with your hand. We can look at the top of the paper towel dispenser. Possibly people might put their hand on top of it in order to grab the paper towel. So there's some areas there that would need to be addressed. Here's some examples of some touch points in office settings now. So now we've gone from just a restroom, we know how many there is in there, to an actual office setting with cubicles, boardrooms, hallways. There is just a tremendous number of touch points. We have printers and photocopiers and filing cabinets and
I think Mike might have frozen. James, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So I guess Mike's connection's a little loose. There he is. Mike,
Oh, there he is.
Dropped
He's
off
back
a little bit.
Yep. Okay.
I just wanted to talk about the differences between cleaning versus disinfecting. Cleaning essentially, and Jim will be getting into this a little bit more as well on the cleaning side, but cleaning is the removal of dirt and impurities, including germs from surfaces. But cleaning alone does not necessarily kill germs or viruses. So disinfecting is a little different. It works by using chemicals that are registered EPA. They kill the germs and viruses on the surfaces, and and by doing that, reduces the spread of COVID-19. So this is sort of how the flow works, is that you would clean before you would disinfect, being the step one. You would spray a soap and water substance directly on the surface to be cleaned, and then wipe away the towel and make sure that it's put in a garbage container immediately. You're going to double bag it, and I'll talk more about waste disposal in a little bit as well. Now, after the cleaning, you're going to use disinfection. So you're going to spray the product directly onto the surface and allow proper contact time. And I'll talk about the contact time in a minute. That's really critical, is reading the instructions on the disinfectant in terms of how long that product were to lay on the item before you do wipe away with a clean towel. And again, when you wipe away, it's critical to put that towel in a garbage. The contact time, what is this contact time? It's the time that the disinfectant needs to be on the surface in order to be effective. So they vary between 15 seconds to 10 minutes, which is the allowable time by the EPA. So the surface must be visibly wet for the entire contact time. Can't be just limited wetness. It's got to be entirely visibly wet. You see the sheen of the wetness on the surface. If the disinfectant does dry on the surface before the contact time is reached, you need to reapply to ensure that the contact time is met as well. Where do you find the contact time? Well, you do find it on the actual disinfectant products, and it does give you some examples here of common household cleaners are typically 3 minutes, and hospital grade disinfectants are usually that maximum 10 minutes of EPA. Every minute does count. And this is sort of an interesting slide here. And you can sort of see that the timelines for, a lot of these sort of, the actual coronavirus there, it requires the 2 minutes of contact time, and 3 minutes there, it would say, for a lot of these other sort of staph infections as well. So the The contact time, I think, is really critical, as well as those high touch point areas as well. And what surfaces will need to be cleaned. So you need to look at two types, and one is porous surfaces. So that's where, liquids can be absorbed in like fabric on a chair, or the carpet. Partition walls are often in cubicles or fabric layered, curtains in the office setting. Clothing, of course, what you're wearing. Bedding may not be as critical, but some businesses it may be. Non-porous surfaces like desks and doorknobs and faucets and countertops obviously are all important non-porous surfaces. And I wanted to stress too, when I refer to this cleaning processes too, it's not in an instance where you have a confirmed COVID-19 case. That's entirely the whole I guess playing field changes a bit. You need to then be concerned with PPE and as well as site isolation and exit entry strategies as well. So this is just purely talking on, everyday cleaning. We know there's COVID and just staying proactive, right? Waste disposal, all waste should be double bagged and sealed. All waste should be transferred through facilities in hard surface containers, not, in a soft container. And bins should be cleaned and disinfected upon removal of the waste bags as well. And disposable of waste is regular waste in accordance with regulation. So it doesn't have to be treated as hazardous waste, even if it's COVID-19 related waste. Health impacts for overexposure to disinfectant. So there was a recent study in 2020 titled "A Rapid Review of Disinfectant Chemical Exposures and Health Effects During COVID-19 Pandemic." So it did highlight that there is acute health effects due to the misuse and overexposure to disinfectants. They've been on the rise since, again, I told you at the beginning of the pandemic, perhaps consultants were saying, we were striving to clean a lot of the facility to just make sure it's maybe over cleaned. Now we're kind of honing in on more strategic cleaning, focusing on those high surface areas. And and so the big health concerns coming out of it really were asthma and wheezing with the potential of overuse of disinfectants. So it's really critical to just now be a little bit more aware of that, and proper safe cleaning and following the directions of disinfections are really important to do. The takeaway from my side of the presentation is really it takes a multifaceted approach to ensure your business is safe. That's why I thought it was important to highlight those four preventative measures at the beginning, because it really comes down to that. And proper hygiene is so critical. The social physical distancing of the 6 feet, 2 meters, the self-isolation if required. If you have a feeling, a COVID-19 symptom, to get tested, wait until you've tested negative to re-enter. And then the barriers, having your face mask in your businesses, making sure that you have your plexiglass shields as well. And this is coupled with proper cleaning and disinfection procedures, focusing, as I mentioned, on those touch points. So it's really important to really carefully read the instructions, and then as outlined on those disinfectants, to wear any protective gear that they've outlined, like gloves or safety eyewear for splash guards. And we all know now with studies that are coming out, and it's, they're becoming more and more, we're becoming more and more knowledgeable on them, but overexposure and the misuse of disinfectants may cause acute health effects like asthma. And Health Canada and the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention do offer some great resources on how to protect yourself in finding these approved disinfectants products, such as Charlotte Products. And, really, it can't be understated here, but I think it's important to know you have assistance from a consultant, and again, from a cleaning company like Charlotte Products. We're here to assist you. We're here to support you. If you have a question, we have actually, as I said, Pension has a COVID-19 service line. So if you have any questions at all, just send me an email and I'll give my contact information at the end, or a phone call. I'll be happy to bring you with the right people of experts, and we can help you re-enter your businesses as safely as possible for your clients and employees. That's my information there, and I can be reached at email or by phone, or just any way on the website as well. And at this time, I wanted to actually bring out our poll number 2, if I may. So I can ask that to come out. What is your single biggest challenge with reoccupying your building during COVID-19? What are you struggling with right now? Is it just not knowing what disinfectants to use, where to buy them? What type of disinfectant do I need? Or is it needing the guidance from a professional like a pension? Is it locating the resources to better understand your obligations? Is it ensuring employee and client wellness? Or is it just, from a business side of things, is it gaining the public trust of cleanliness? No, we're open for business. We're here for you, right? I'll just give it a couple more seconds to get the percentage of results. There we go. Yeah, so look, it looks like here we have the number one reason at 67% is ensuring employee and client wellness. And that can't be understated. I think that is so true. And that's the challenge that we're all facing right now. And hopefully, that you have some resources now with the consultant side, as well as learning from Jim's presentation next on cleaning products. You'll be able to learn a little bit more about that. Now I'm just going to pass it over to Jim Flieler. Jim, go ahead.
Okay, is everything sound good there, Mike?
Sounds good. We need your screen up.
Sounds good, Jim.
Screen's not showing?
Not yet. Nope. Try hitting the share button again.
Where's share button again? Okay, I did that. Okay, there.
There we go.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if you can just put it into slide mode.
Okay, all good?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. These technical things, everybody's different with these IT platforms. So anyway, Jim Flieler, Vice President of Sales for Charlotte Products in Canada. I'd like to certainly thank everybody for joining us today, our joint venture here with Pynchon. Hopefully everybody's staying safe, and I think overall there appears to be a little bit better news every day, which is good because we've certainly had some learnings there. My overview here today is really talking about the importance of cleaning and disinfectant and that protocol involved, how to lower the risk. And what was really reassuring is that of your poll questions, the majority was obviously ensuring employee and client wellness. So we're going to go through some steps on how to easily communicate that those elements to you. There are 5 critical elements of disinfectant security that if you learn one new thing today, this is the topic here that you really need to understand. And Mike touched on it there briefly in his presentation. We want to talk about the impact of overuse of incorrect application and disinfectants. And believe me, the numbers are astoundingly high. In other words, we're failing. And we want to look at different disinfectant delivery methods there and how to correctly use them. Okay, so what did we learn? I mean, our goal is certainly lowering the risk of an outbreak without question. We at Charlotte have been teaching that and communicating that and really transferring the knowledge since March the 13th of 2020. It obviously, COVID-19 has been a worldwide health issue with many challenges. We've learned since last March the awareness of the risk, awareness of new virus. We've also learned that probably COVID-19 won't be the last of it as well. So we can't, once COVID is gone, we just cannot obviously just say, okay, well, we don't have to worry about any kind of virus or bacteria anymore. It's an ongoing protocol that we must adapt, right? What the good news about it is there's a rising importance of our particular industry. So whether you're the one that's manufacturing the cleaning goods and disinfectants, whether you're actually distributing them or you're cleaning the building buildings or an occupant or visitor of the building. We all play a role without question, okay? And there is a rising importance for us as a whole to promote clean, safe, and healthy, because really, who could argue with those three simple words that mean the utmost to every single one of us, globally? The switch to virtual business models has been an eye-opening experience where people had to really reinvent their business strategies from one end to the other. I'm a frequent flyer, or I was flying well over 100,000 miles a year. Haven't been on a plane since March the 3rd of 2020, and able to adapt virtually and still take care of our critical customers, helping them, lower the risk of an outbreak. Personal protection, absolutely a reality, certainly a risk with us without doubt, and simply something that we probably weren't doing the best job of overall. So PPE is extremely important, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and Mike talked about it as well. Business survival, change and adjusting there. And really the bottom line fact is the cleaning industry as a whole was probably long overdue to revisit and really improve our cleaning and disinfectant protocols. So really, I mean, learnings are good, right? What you do with the learnings and the execution after you do that is really the most important factor. So Mike talked about it a little bit about what is cleaning, and really it's removing unwanted substances safely from the surface, right? We don't have a problem cleaning items in any particular facility. It's really the safest way, the easiest way, the fastest way, the most efficient way, and really that education really comes down to it there. We want to clean away the visual dirt. We want to make sure that we clean visual, but also be aware of microbial contaminants and chemical residues there. And cleaning doesn't necessarily kill germs, but by removing them, it lowers their numbers to a safer manner. In fact, lowering the risk of spreading infection without question. These are the two terms that you really need to understand. What's the purpose of a disinfectant? What's the purpose of a sanitizer? Sanitizing, generally used in food service establishments, lowers the number of germs on surfaces deemed to a safe level judged by public health standards. Okay, so in other words, if you can take a surface, prepare food of any sort on there and digest it, then that means it's pretty safe. Okay, if the government and public health standards allow us to digest food by doing a sanitizing process, then that's good. Disinfecting also, I mean, very important in facilities there, where that's a process that eliminates many or all of the pathogenic microorganisms, okay, as specified on the label. It will not kill something as a general rule legally if it's not officially listed on the label. Okay, the process of disinfecting, again, the label's the law. You have to read the label without question. You have to understand the directions for use, and it will tell you need to pre-clean surfaces. So what does that mean? I need to actually pre-clean the surface and then apply disinfectant according to the label to ensure that I've actually disinfected. That's a thing that a lot of people aren't aware of. Okay, here's some chemistry facts and concerns. 99% of the world's bacteria is good for us, okay? Less than 1% is a serious risk, yet we want to run around and apply disinfectants to everything. And you talk, and they are more aggressive, they are hazardous, they can be deemed a poison and a toxin because they kill bacteria and viruses. So there is a health risk with us just blatantly applying disinfectants everywhere without following the directions on the label and all of that protocol. And that's really what we're going to talk about here, because that's the goal here today is education. If you look at the SDS sheet, so the safety data sheet, you will certainly see your warnings. These SDS sheets, and even previous to that, WMIS has been around since 1987. We generally in the public haven't read them. Okay, and what was interesting is the multitude of questions that we've received in the last year and a half has really been, geez, are these things safe to use? Well, the chemical formulations haven't changed as a general rule. The warnings have always been there. It's just we have not actually followed them or read them or been concerned about it. So in the risk of, with the content or the risk of health and safety and employee wellness, read those SDS sheets. They're there for your safety, okay? Facilities really just generally don't follow them. And historically, 95% of the world's disinfectants are used improperly. And yes, I did say 95%, okay, improperly. And when I go through the critical elements, you'll probably get a better handle on that. What we're doing is generally not working. We've made great strides since the awareness of COVID-19 and beyond, but really we haven't been doing it correctly, and that's what education is about. So this slide here, when I said in the beginning, the 5 critical elements of disinfectant security. If you are using any particular product, it does not matter if you buy it from Charlotte Products or you buy it from the local grocery store, a residential product, a commercial product. These 5 security elements are on every single label. Okay, number 1, always use a registered product. Always read and understand the label. And believe me, sometimes there's a 2-ply label that you peel the label and there's more information behind it. Number 2, diluting it properly, regardless of what the dilution method is. Okay, you've got to verify the ppm, and that stands for parts per million. That's your validation and your measurement to ensure you've mixed that product correctly, that it's going to do exactly what it states it'll do on the element or on the label. Okay, if I've got a dilution ratio of 1:64 and I mix it, which is basically 2 ounces per gallon, and I decide because I'm disinfecting and I want to mix more, so 4 ounces per gallon. Okay, number 1, I'm not going to kill anything more than it's stated on the label. Number 2, I'm going to leave a chemical residue. Number 3, I'm going to leave streaking and an environment that acts as a host to harbor bacteria and viruses. So if you are diluting properly, there's no advantage whatsoever, and in fact, you'll double your spend amount as well. So again, dilute properly. You always have to pre-clean the surface without question. You've got to remove the contaminants that the disinfectants can come in direct contact with the surface where viruses and bacteria are present for sure. So you've got to do that. Do people do that as a general rule? Absolutely not. The contact time, respecting that, regardless, as Mike says, whether it's 30 seconds or 10 minutes, anything in between, if you are not respecting that dwell time, you are failing. Okay, and then when it comes to potable water rinses, children teething, mouthing, food contact services, you must do a potable water rinse. And what does that entail? A microfiber cloth, cool, clean water, and a rinse of the surface after you've disinfected or sanitized. If you follow that particular slide, you will do extremely well. If you do not follow it, you'll fail. Okay, a couple of the other items that are in the news today, making a little bit of static without question, is the delivery methods. Okay, so since COVID-19, new technologies such as foggers and misters and electrostatic sprayers and even drones have flooded the market. Okay, and they've come to the market with good intent, because obviously the frequency of cleaning and disinfecting is increased during COVID times, and I don't think it's going to decrease moving forward. So how do we address the cost of labor? Okay, that high cost. Well, that's obviously a delivery method without question. So what I'm going to say here is, regardless of the method that you choose, regardless of the brand, regardless of the method, you must always follow the label instructions on every single disinfectant label. Okay, you cannot apply it, you go into a room and just fog it like crazy and pretend that that's done the job, because that is failure, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, micron sizes I'll talk about are really range from 40 to 110 microns. Okay, the smaller the micron, keep in mind, the faster it dries. The larger the micron, the more moisture, so you'll respect a longer dwell time. But there's also sensitive items like electronics and computers and things like that around, that basically are prone to damage if you actually apply too much. So let me give you an example of foggers and misters and an example of improper guidance. Now, I've not put the brand on here whatsoever. I would never ever do that. I want to play a neutral party here, but this is improper guidance. So if you buy this particular fogger, it's not the one showing on the screen, the instructions will indicate that in an office environment, you should have a device with approximately ranges between 40 to 45 microns. And they even state exactly in the guide that that'll deliver a 4-minute dwell time. Now that is impossible to say, because if you're using the same product and the same sprayer and I'm using the same one, what speed are you going through the office environment or the break room environment or the communal environment or the washroom, whatever it may be? The faster you go, the drier it'll be, the shorter the dwell time. If your disinfectant matches that, you're good, but chances are it doesn't. So how do I do that? You can develop that into some SOPs, without question, standard operating procedures that go through to say, okay, in a general speed, we're going to go through this room and we should be taking 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and then time it and away you go, right? But very, very small droplets will dry dramatically faster. So you cannot say that, right? You have to respect the dwell time without question. Electrostatic sprayers, the same thing here. What's good about them? Positive and negative ions, okay, and they go into a room and you'll spray and they can say, okay, well, I can get in those hard to reach areas and under the desks and in vents, and I'm all over in these little crooks and crannies there, okay? But basically, if you are not pre-cleaning those surfaces, you are failing to disinfect. If you just walk into a room and just blatantly spray disinfectants, you are failing and then causing a lot of short and long-term health issues and employee wellness issues there. Okay, so once again, if you haven't followed the label, you're not doing it correctly. Okay, drones, this is the newest of the delivery methods. They invented these to go through sports stadiums and large venues and things like that. What's good about a drone is they've adapted them to spray disinfectants, but what's good, they can spray it in an air, but imagine being in any particular sports stadium across North America or the world for a matter of fact, and you're not pre-cleaning, you're not respecting dwell time, you're just spraying a poison and a toxin. That is not the way to disinfect, okay? What's good about it is it does keep people's feet on the ground, avoid from using scaffolding and ladders and things like that, but they still must follow the directions of the label. And if you are not, you are failing, okay? So regardless of that delivery method, I think I've said it about 4 times now, read the label instructions, follow those for sure, okay? You know, without doubt. My favorite little one is our Enviro Solutions ES15 pump up sprayer. The cost is about $30. They last a long time. They spray 10 times faster than trigger sprayer. They're actually ergonomically better because you're not spraying a trigger. They apply enough product to give you a little bit more respect, a little longer dwell time. And I mean, why wouldn't you invest in one of those particular sprayers? They sell them everywhere. We have a particular one with workplace label, and away we go. So let's look at an employee wellness overview. The current crisis we're in now is a wake-up call for us all, okay? Now's the time for recovery and to turn it into an opportunity for all of us here for offering clean, safe, and healthy facilities, okay? After COVID-19, we cannot go back to our common practices without question. If you're in the public sector, you have to re-earn and regain the trust of the public before they come back in your facilities. And once they do, and it's not up to their standards, you'll probably lose that customer for life. You know, employees, is it safe to return to work? Is it safe to come back into their buildings and things like that? We have a big challenge on our hands, really, is what we need to do, okay? Education, knowledge transfer, that's our specialty at Charlotte, and that's what we do well, and we pride ourselves on really being able to teach you what the right product is at the right cost with sustainability in mind and employee wellness and the whole works to get the job done correctly the first time. Okay, let's talk about product overuse. If we are just basically spraying product, we're actually causing ourselves more harm, right? And there's no doubt that our cleaning standards will continue to rise. We're not going to wash our hands less. We're not going to use less hand sanitizer and things like that, you know, so cleaning procedures will increase. We're going to have to adjust our budgets and our cleaning frequencies and our time studies and things like that to match, right? It's critical that we have the correct cleaning and disinfectant protocol in place, you know, and incorrect procedures, leaving chemical residues on surfaces, possible hosts for harboring viruses and bacteria. These are all issues that we have when we use too much product. And believe me, we manufacture and sell, but we want to manufacture the right product and sell it to you to use in a safe manner that actually achieves your facility's objectives, not overuse, not oversell and things like that. Okay. You know, the one thing that we're being told that's coming down the road is the overabundance of sewage discharge. What happens if we're overusing disinfectants? What about all of our disposable masks that we use and things? Where do these go? I see them in the parking lots now, our gloves and all of those particular things. There's going to be a huge negative impact in the future, so they predict, okay, on fish and animals and lakes and rivers and streams. So we have to be aware of that, okay? What's that long-term effect on ourselves and the planet going to be? Time will tell. Okay, so here's some sustainable thoughts for cleaning and sanitizing and disinfecting. And this is a big question. I said in number 2, number 3, I have to pre-clean. Okay, do I need to use a disinfectant to pre-clean surfaces? There's 2 answers. No, I do not, unless infection control dictates us to do so. Otherwise, we suggest a good quality general purpose cleaner. Why do I use the right general purpose cleaner? Number 1, it is safer. Number 2, it's improved employee wellness. There's less complaints, there's less absenteeism, there's less risk of eye irritants and skin irritants and respiratory issues, right? They're less expensive solutions. There's a lower ready-to-use cost than a disinfectant. They're higher dilutions generally, which reduces plastic in the landfill, fewer containers being used, and the cleaning performance is generally far superior to a disinfectant because the chemistry of a general purpose cleaner is based on clean end results, not on disinfectant claims, okay? So if you are pre-cleaning with a disinfectant and you're struggling with budget and employee wellness issues and things, you may want to generally go with a GP cleaner and then follow up with a disinfectant or a sanitizer, okay? Unless infection control dictates that they want you to use a disinfectant for pre-cleaning as well, then you must do so. Okay, we have a dispenser cabinet. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there's 2 products in there, 2 concentrated products that can clean and disinfect and or sanitize about 95% of a typical facility at the least price. Employee wellness, color coding, wall charts, all of those, no chemical contact, all of those benefits and things like that. And our mission at Charlotte really has been 4 or 5 years now. And get this, 4 or 5 years, not just when COVID came about. We believe in honestly, safely removing organic matter and then sparingly, thoughtfully, and carefully applying disinfectants and sanitizers to those higher risk, high contact touch points. We've believed in that for at least 4 or 5 years. That is the way you increase employee wellness and achieve all of those other objectives. As far as education, knowledge, and where you can go afterwards here. Since March the 3rd of 2020, we've actually done weekly and monthly webinars on our YouTube site, on our charlotteproducts.com website. This is one that we did as recent, and why I'm referencing it is Wednesday, May the 12th, was just a few weeks ago, on cleaning and disinfectant. There is a right way and a wrong way, and I encourage everybody to go on the Charlotte link to look at that and review it, where Asquith Williams and myself run through all of the right steps and the wrong steps on cleaning and disinfecting, which really ties into this. So really, in a summary here, we recommend continue education post-COVID-19. Don't stop learning. Don't stop taking care of yourself and your loved ones and family members and co-workers, right? We want to make sure that you continue to understand the effect on employee wellness. Okay, and you want to surround yourself with suppliers that have the facility expertise to help you lower the risk of an outbreak. Okay, now is the time to really develop standard operating procedures as well, known as SOPs, as well as validation and measurement systems there. So with that being said, that covers my particular session. I know my topics. I know there's a question there, Rue, on another poll question, if you can pop that up there. Or maybe Mike, you're running through it. I'm not sure who's running through it.
Yeah, Rui will just post it. There we go.
Okay. So here's the question for you. Obviously, COVID has changed the way that we do day-to-day business. Our expert specialists run around the globe, North America in particular, Europe and things like that. And we train people usually on site in your facility. So really, obviously, with virtual more here, the question is, what is your preferred type of training for your entire team? Is it webinars or virtual combination? Is it it's an on-site in person, or is it an e-learning platform? So if everybody could take a minute and fill those out, that would help us in the future for sure.
Give it a couple more seconds.
Yep, sure. Oh, so on-site in person, 52%. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's the most effective one. You know, and I'm sure as long as we're over COVID soon, we'll be able to get back to that, because quite honestly, that's our specialty for sure. That's an interesting mix there. Thank you. Mike, I'll turn it back to you there.
Fantastic.
So we do have 3 questions.
Hey, Jim, I just ask you to stop the, can you press the stop share? And then I'm just going to put our QR code so the participants can scan it.
Okay, I just have to, where's the stop share? Yep, got it. Okay, where you go.
Thanks, Jim. Excellent. There we go. There's the QR code. If we'd like to hear your feedback in regards to that, just put your phone camera up and click the pop-up that appears on your screen, and you should be able to fill out a feedback form for Pension, and we can give that to Charlotte as well. We always like to hear feedback on how we can improve things, give you the information that you're looking to hear as well. I did notice, I did get one question on the chat that I answered as well. And I think I just wanted to go back to one of our poll question 2 was, what is your single biggest challenge with reoccupying your building during COVID-19? And perhaps it's a bit assumptive question that you haven't reoccupied your building. Well, a lot of businesses are in operation. So it's more like, we really wanted to highlight what your challenges are with just entering your building. Simply put as that, what is top of mind right now, or has been top of mind over the past 16 months in regards to that. So I wanted to apologize. It was maybe a little bit assumptive, that question, that you aren't currently reoccupying your building, but a lot of people have been and have been operating ever since during the pandemic. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Rui, I may just pass it over to you for the Q&A part there to disseminate which questions you think would be appropriate for us.
Sure, we got 2 additional questions to the one you just read. So one is directed for James. So where can he purchase Charlotte product brands, Enviro Solutions, and Serve Clean?
Okay, easy answer. We have a list of distributors all across North America. As a matter of fact, if they call into Charlotte in Peterborough here, Ontario, and tell us where they are, we can give you the direct name and contact person of the distributor without doubt that can help you best.
Perfect. So if you're looking for information about Charlotte Products, maybe you can fill out our feedback score, and in the comment section, just let us know that you're looking for where you can find these products, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you with your applicable vendor.
Yeah, and rest assured, we have distribution all across North America.
Perfect. If you're not able to use the QR code in front of you, there will be a pop-up once the webinar closes that'll ask you to take our feedback survey. It just takes about 2 minutes, and every survey or submission that we get very much is appreciated. The last question here is relative to all the news. We're hearing in the news from medical experts that there is too much emphasis on services, whereas COVID is fundamentally an airborne transmitted illness. Curious about your reaction to this. So perhaps James, Mike, both of you can kind of chime in on that.
Yeah, no, I'll just go first here, and if Mike wants to add something after. COVID is airborne, there's no question. There's a thing called gravity that brings everything back to the Earth's surface sooner or later, depending on the weight of it. So COVID viruses do land on horizontal surfaces like desktops and floors and within carpet and things like that. So general cleaning for years and years and years, thousands of years before COVID, has obviously kept them at bay. What we need to be aware of is how to properly clean, how to properly disinfect, and how to properly sanitize these surfaces. And that's where you surround ourselves with us on the line here that can really walk you through these processes and protocol that are specific to your particular facility there. So education is absolutely key. Proper cleaning, proper disinfecting, proper sanitizing are the way to success.
Yeah, just to add to that, we have shifted our efforts at Pension. We've done a couple of webinars on in ventilation systems and how we are, going into buildings and assessing their HVAC systems, just because to get the improved ventilation for those, the smaller droplets to create the flow. So it is top of mind. Airborne aerosol transmission is definitely a valid transmission, and it's becoming more and more apparent that it is more significant than perhaps we initially thought. Just because there was that case with the cruise ship, a number of months ago, that there was a lot of transmission between the cruise ship, and there was, at the time, there was this presumption that it was more like contaminated surfaces. And now it's become a little more apparent that it's through aerosol transmission. Potentially over 50% of those were by aerosol. So yeah, it's top of mind. I think it's important to focus in on the ventilation, as well as those touch points are really critical. Being strategic now on our cleaning and our disinfectant use, just because we know there's employee wellness, there's impacts to health, and we do want to keep the good microbes as well.
Yeah, because that's really the risk. I mean, we don't want to start. I mean, bacteria is actually good for us, without doubt there. So, and we don't want to start, really harming that, where we're lowering our protection level as well. One thing on the airborne for sure, Mike, is, people in their homes, in their residential situations, should be looking at their own HVAC systems and changing those filters much more regularly than they are. In buildings, unless you have a planned maintenance program or a maintenance individual on site, they generally get neglected as well. So there are spores that live in vents and things like that. So every element of buildings really need to be reassessed and improved, and COVID has really given us the wake-up call in order to do that in all elements.
We had one more question just come in, and is disinfecting floors important?
Yeah, disinfecting floors is, like I said, viruses are airborne. Gravity does take them to the floor. The largest square footage of flooring, of substrates, are floors, by the way. Do I need to disinfect my floors in every building? No, I need a good quality cleaner without question that removes it safely. But there will be food processing facilities where you need to disinfect and or use a food service sanitizer as well. So again, depends on the objectives of the facility, but yes, you should disinfect, wash, and sanitize floors depending on the specific facility. And we can help you with that if you want to reach out to that for some more specific information on your facility.
That's all we had for questions. I did have something come in through the chat, and it's just in regards to James, distributors in Central America. Do you have?
No distributors at this particular time. We do have an exceptional export business out of the southern United States, also in Europe and in China and offshore as well. So, but you can reach out directly to myself, and I'll help you with that.
Perfect. No other questions have come in.
Well, that's great. We want to be sensitive to everybody's time. We're actually totally on time, which is great. We really wanted to appreciate everybody's time and efforts, and we really wanted to extend and to continue to stay safe. And the most important thing is we really wanted you to be aware that we're here for you. We're here to support your businesses and whatever facet that might be. whether it's just, employee wellness and client wellness, or whether it's providing some disinfectant information, as Jim alluded to, it can be challenging, and knowing the right disinfectant, what to use. And then also with the protocols in place, and there can be a bit of a moving target, and perhaps a consultant to just to send an email to, or a quick question would be helpful to you. And Pension is here for you in that avenue. So again, thank you for everybody's time. We appreciate it, and be well, everyone.
Thank you.
There were two more questions that came in. Hopefully
Okay.
you can stick around. One of them is, what are your thoughts on the electrostatic sprayers? Are they the most effective? And then I'll read the second one just in case. When disinfecting the light switches, we have had some that needed replacing due to the ES634 eating the plastic. 10-minute dwell time. Any recommendations? So I guess some chemicals are too much.
Yeah, it's probably generally we test all of our solutions regardless on these particular surfaces, and generally if you're mixing the product correctly and applying it properly, there's seldom any feedback. But I'm looking at feedback on the screen here at the same time, there's seldom very few side effects. But what we do, Rinse, is we've never cleaned, we've never disinfected these surfaces near as much as what we've done for the last year and a half. You could have a side effect. What we do recommend is a potable water rinse right afterwards with a moist microfiber cloth, and then a wipe to alleviate that if you're having the problem. Generally, the people have contacted us to say there is a little bit of issue. The dilution ratio has been relatively stronger than what it's called for. So just revisit that and take a look at that.
And how about the electrostatic sprayers?
Okay, electrostatic sprayers. I mean, if you're following, regardless of the delivery method, if you're following the label instructions on the disinfectant or food service sanitizer, you should be okay. That is all 5 critical elements. If you're just walking in with a sprayer or fog or a mister and just spraying and hoping for good results, you're actually failing there. So revisit the label instructions. If you need some assistance with your particularly delivery method, your type of delivery method, reach out to us and we'll help educate and walk you through that.
Perfect. That's it. Well, I guess that's it for everybody. Thank you.
Hey, we're right on time.
Yeah, perfect.
That's good for
Thank
me.
If you have any other questions, please put them in the feedback survey and we'll get them out to James and Mike and they'll respond to you. Otherwise, we'd love to hear from you just in general, how we did today and how we can keep on improving with these webinar sessions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody. Enjoy the day.
Yeah,
Bye, everyone.
thank you. Thanks, Mike. Mike.